Hello and welcome back to the EnvirotechOnline podcast, your source for the latest in environmental monitoring, data integrity and regulatory change. I'm Jed Thomas, editor of EnvirotechOnline.
And I'm Alan Booth, senior editor at ILM Media. This week, we're turning our attention to India, a country with some of the world's most challenging air pollution problems and one of the most ambitious industrial emissions monitoring programs anywhere.
That's right, Alan. From the sulfur dioxide emissions of thermal power plants to the smoke pouring out of brick kilns, India's air quality problems are well documented. In response, the Indian government has spent over a decade pushing for real-time emissions monitoring using CEMS, continuous emissions monitoring systems.
How widespread is that rollout now?
It's absolutely massive. Over 30,000 monitors installed across more than 6,000 industrial facilities. The Ministry for Environment, Forest and Climate Change mandates these monitors for 17 categories of highly polluting industries.
So, job done and system in place now?
Well, not quite. Installing monitors is one thing, trusting the data that's coming out of them is another. And this is where the story gets really interesting. Because while India has gone big on hardware, the framework for certification, calibration and oversight is still playing catch up.
Okay, so what kind of certification system does India use for CEMS?
Well, there's actually quite a complicated answer to that. Instead of creating its own certification scheme from scratch, the Central Pollution Control Board, or CPCB, decided to recognise two established international systems, the EU's qual-based certification and the US EPA's performance-based specs.
Two very, very different approaches there, right?
Very, very different. In Europe, monitors go through lab-based type approval. The analyzer, including the sample probe, conditioning and data systems, is tested under standardised conditions. If it passes, it's considered plug and play, with fixed schedules for calibration and quality checks, Qual 2, Qual 3, annual surveillance, all of that sort of stuff.
But in the US?
Completely different philosophy. There's no lab approval, just site-specific performance testing. The device that you're checking has to pass a series of stack side tests, 7-day drift checks, correlation against reference methods, linearity checks, and RATs, relative accuracy test audits. If it passes, you're good to go. But the burden is on the operator to prove it works and keep proving it.
And India is now using both?
Yes, which creates a sort of hybrid system and not always in a good way. EU certified monitors are treated as pre-approved, but still have to pass on-site specific performance tests. Meanwhile, uncertified devices that pass their initial tests may later fail long-term stability.
So where's the conflict?
Let's say you've got a TUV certified analyzer from Germany. It passes EN 15267, gets installed in an Indian power plant, but it fails the 7-day drift test. Should it be rejected, even with a certificate?
Okay, I can see, yeah.
So now flip that. You've got a cheap monitor with no type approval, but it passes its initial tests. What happens when it drifts or fails under heavy dust or high temperatures? That's a real risk in Indian stacks.
And the conditions are tough. I'm talking about coal-fired boilers, poor filtration, corrosive gases, that sort of thing.
Exactly. A monitor tested in clean European conditions might not hold up, and the mismatch in standards goes deeper than that. European certificates use normal cubic meters at 11% oxygen. US rules use dry standard cubic feet at 7% oxygen. Without proper conversion, the data is just not comparable.
So if these monitors are in place but not reliable, what's the impact?
Well, it's quite serious. According to the Centre for Science and Environment, only about half of India's coal plants regularly report emissions data, despite widespread CEMS installation. Mercury data, by contrast, is nearly non-existent, and SOx and NOx measurements are often poor quality.
So real-time monitoring isn't being used for enforcement?
Exactly right. Without trusting the data, there's just no compliance and no transparency. And this undermines absolutely everything from public confidence to new initiatives like carbon trading schemes, which they're trying to get off the ground. All of this depend on credible, high quality emissions data that's comparable across different industries.
Right. So where do we go from here?
Well, I think personally that India needs its own certification framework, ideally one that combines the EU's lab-based confidence with the EPA's site-specific realism. That could be managed by the Bureau of Indian Standards or the National Physical Laboratory from the UK, which has now established its operations in India too.
But we need more labs, right?
Definitely. Independent labs for field calibrations, RATs and long-term audits. This is something that the National Physical Laboratory is looking into, and operators need proper training to run and maintain these systems to spec.
What about standardising how the data is reported?
Yeah, so like I said, that really is key. India could mandate a uniform reporting format, say milligrams at nanometers cubed at 11% oxygen. So all monitors speak the same language. And crucially, operators need to publish the data, even if it's imperfect. Transparency builds trust.
Are there any silver linings at the moment?
Well, yes, actually, there's a big opportunity for domestic instrument manufacturers to take advantage of this new system. Without certification, the door has been wide open to imports. But a national approval scheme tailored to Indian conditions could spur local innovation and reduce costs. That would be a win for industry, the environment, and the Indian economy.
And presumably, with the right system in place, India could become a regional leader in CEMS.
Absolutely. The scale is there, the urgency is there. What's needed now is structure, clarity, and capacity. All right, that's it for today's episode. India's hybrid monitoring regime reflects a bigger global issue. Hardware alone doesn't deliver environmental insight, systems do. If you want more insights like this, check out www.EnvirotechOnline.com for articles, webinars, and the latest on CEMS development worldwide.
And if you found today's podcast useful, please do hit follow or subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. We'll be back soon with more sector updates and expert analysis.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, take care.